Good morning, Wakefield. Happy Memorial Day, Wakefield Memorial High School. Congratulations well to the class of 2018 Warriors. As Mr. O'Leary continues to say, it's a great day to be a Wakefield Warrior. Welcome to our invited guests, their families, students, faculty, and administration. Today, be mindful of the AMP in Wakefield Memorial High School, a dedication to the men and women who dedicated their lives to uphold the freedoms and liberties you and I enjoy each day. Winston Churchill shared words to be mindful of. All the great things are simple and can be expressed in a single word. Freedom, justice, honor, duty, mercy, and hope. Today, our guests are here with us at WMHS to honor those who are not here, to honor those who stood for freedom, for justice, with duty, mercy, and hope, as they did as well. Today, we are truly humbled and honored to welcome veterans from all branches of the armed services. They have served our nation from World War II to the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as currently in various locations in the U.S. and around the world. Be mindful of their courage, integrity, and selflessness. Be mindful as your classmates explain America's history. Be mindful of those who we honor today. We also want to mention that Sal Salvatore, maybe our senior center, had been at our assembly, our ceremony for over 3 years. He passed this past year at 103 years old. And he always enjoyed being with you students and the rest of us. Many of our guests are WMHS graduates and teachers, residents, family members, and friends, or from surrounding communities. During his 1983 Memorial Day speech address, President Ronald Reagan said these following words: "We owe this freedom of choice and action to those men and women in uniform who have served this nation and its interests in time of need. In particular, we are forever indebted to those who have given their lives so that we might be free." As you enjoy the long weekend ahead with family and friends, stop and think of those who have given their lives the ultimate sacrifice. Stop and remember those who served, are no longer with us, and those who are currently serving. I am incredibly proud and honored to introduce my junior, Katie Maloney, who will read part of an essay she wrote in US 2 History class this past year. Thank you so much. And you guys always
On this Memorial Day, we look back and remember those who have devoted their lives to our country, men and women who have given the ultimate sacrifice to keep us safe and free. Since the days of the Revolutionary War, servicemen and women volunteered and accepted the responsibility of keeping our country safe and fighting for the values that this country was born from. The United States of America is based on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. For years, people from all over the world have come to this country for a better life. Because in this country, you have a voice, you have rights, and you have freedoms that you would not have in any other country. All because many brave men and women have fought and died for these rights. America is the land of opportunity. Our founding fathers built this country so that future generations, like us all present here today, could live with the protections provided to us in the Constitution of the United States. Many times, the Constitution and the rights provided therein were threatened by enemies of the values the United States stands for and protects. Our servicemen and women fought these enemies to protect the rights of all Americans. Many people ask, why would anyone want to risk their lives for someone they do not know? As a member of the military, you volunteer to protect your neighbor, the stranger across town, your family, but most importantly, these brave men and women volunteer to protect the very fabric of our country, to protect the idea of the United States of America. As a junior in high school, I've been to 2 Memorial Day assemblies. As a freshman, I had never heard about this assembly, and I was excited to see what this was all about. I remember walking into the field house with awe. The field house was decorated with flags, and there were many veterans seated in front of the bleachers. One of these veterans stood out among the rest. remember seeing this young man around the age of 20. He was dressed in a blue uniform that I had not recognized. After a while, the veteran in the blue uniform spoke to us. He told us about his job in the Coast Guard and what he does to serve our country. I never knew that the Coast Guard was one of the branches of service. Many members of my family are veterans. My grandfather is a Navy veteran. He served in the Korean War. My great-uncle was wounded in Pearl Harbor as a seaman in the Navy. My other great-uncle is a veteran of the Army. Maybe it was in my genes, or maybe I had a desire to serve my country. But prior to attending the assembly in my freshman year, I had always wanted to do something for my country. That Memorial Day assembly gave me the spark to look for a way to serve my country. I am hopeful that one day I can call myself a veteran, as many of our guests can do so today. I hope that the Memorial Day Assembly will continue to inspire others to serve this country. And so, as we come here together on this beautiful day, may we remember those who have gave the ultimate sacrifice and continue to do so today. And I would like to end by thanking the veterans who are here with us today for all you have done for us, and so that we are free to attend Wakefield Memorial High School. Thank you. Now, I would like to introduce Master of Ceremonies, Billy Stevens.
Hello and welcome to the 2018 Memorial Day ceremony. I would like to welcome Superintendent of Wakefield Public Schools, Dr. Smith, School Council, School Committee Member Tom Markham, teachers, students, and of course the veterans who are here with us today. Now I would like to introduce Dr. Smith to say a few words to open up the ceremony.
Good morning and thank you. I am honored to be with you this morning at the annual Memorial Day Assembly at Wakefield Memorial High School. I'd like to extend a special thank you to all of the students who prepared today's program and the exceptional teachers of the Social Studies Department who organized this event. I would also like to express my sincere appreciation to our music students and directors for preparing beautiful music to enhance our school and community assemblies. You are commended for the time and effort you give both on the Veterans Day and Memorial Day holidays each and every year in service to your community. Thank you. The Memorial Day Assembly has become a long cherished tradition at Wakefield Memorial High School, and I have been at many of these assemblies and can remember powerful speeches and presentations over the years delivered with such passion and commitment to honor our veterans. And I've always been extremely proud of the student audience as you are today, listening intently and supporting our dignified guests with such respect and caring. So as you continue to listen to the program prepared for you today, consider the great personal courage, sacrifice, and service of the veterans that are here with you. I also wish you a happy and restful long weekend ahead with your family and friends, a joy and a gift that freedom has afforded all of us. Thank you.
I would now like to introduce Owen Flattery and Juliana Sines to explain the meaning of the flag.
For more than 200 years, the American flag has been the symbol for our nation's strength and unity. It has been a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. The American flag has been a prominent icon in our national history.
On January 1st, 1776, the Continental Army was reorganized with a congressional resolution which placed American forces under George Washington's control. On that New Year's Day, the Continental Army was laying siege to Boston, which had been taken over by the British Army. Washington ordered the Grand Union flag hoisted up above his base at Prospect Hill. It has 13 alternating red and white stripes and the British Union Jack in the upper left-hand corner.
Today the flag consists of 13 horizontal stripes, 7 red alternating with 6 white. The stripes represent the original 13 colonies. The stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardiness and valor, white symbolizes purity and innocence, and blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice.
The flag represents all those who stand together here in the United States of America, who are upholding the same belief in liberty, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness.
All rise and please remain standing for the presentation of the majestic Constitution, followed by the recital of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Explaining the meaning of Memorial Day will be Caroline Herzog with Michaela Hartz.
Good morning. From its very beginnings, Memorial Day has been a holiday championed by ordinary citizens as a way of remembering those who sacrificed their lives in the service of our country. While the practice of honoring the fallen was hardly new, the American tradition of doing so began with the Civil War. After the war, the bloodiest in our history, Americans were faced with the daunting prospect of uniting a severely divided nation, but also recognizing the tremendous bloodshed that had occurred as a result of that division. Communities across the United States began holding ceremonies to honor their fallen service members by placing flowers and flags on their gravestones. These efforts involved all Americans, regardless of barriers, as shown by one of the first ceremonies in Charleston, South Carolina, in 1865, where both white and black citizens, many of them former soldiers, gathered to honor dead Union prisoners of war. Then, in 1868, General John A. Logan, an influential Illinois politician and Civil War general, launched a national campaign to establish an annual Decoration Day on May 30th, on which citizens would decorate the graves of fallen Civil War soldiers with flowers and flags. That same year, the first large-scale ceremony was held in Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia, with 5,000 people in attendance. By 1890, the northern states had each declared Decoration Day a state holiday, and southern states had established holidays for honoring fallen soldiers on other days. After World War I, the country expanded on the idea of Decoration Day, deciding to remember the fallen of all wars, not just the Civil War. The holiday continued to evolve, being renamed Memorial Day in 1967. The following year, in 1968, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, which declared Memorial Day to be a federal holiday, and decided that it would be celebrated annually on the last Monday of May. This change took effect in 1971 and remains the same today. The history of Memorial Day is a testament to our ability to unite and honor those deserving. It was the ordinary people who first established the traditions of laying flowers and planting flags on the graves of the fallen, and it remains the task of ordinary people to continue this tradition today. The holiday represents an occasion on which the American people forget our differences and come together, as we are gathered right now, to honor our fallen service members, who gave everything they had in service to their country.
Those who serve in our nation's military share a common passion, a love for America. With pride and bravery, many men and women have stood between us and the threats thrown at us to protect what Americans cherish. They protect the life, liberty, and happiness that thrives in our nation. Our rights are not free, and our liberty is not free. The freedom we experience is given to us by those who protect us. Whether it is a holiday or not, it is our duty to reach out to veterans
and current military members and thank them for enduring great dangers to serve us. However, Memorial Day is special. Aside from honoring those who served today and yesterday, it is now what we celebrate those who cannot return a smile or a salute after they've left the safety of our nation's borders. It is now that we give the support and love to the families and friends who have been left behind and those who have given their lives for the security of our freedom. Memorial Day is a symbol of remembrance for those who watched out for us on the battlefield, but now watch over us above us. In the wake of each war fought, we will remember those who protected us. Their bravery and sacrifice inspire others to honor America as they once did. May we reflect on those who have sacrificed their lives in order to give us a chance to live our lives to the fullest. And may we bless those who will continue to protect our nation and fight for peace.
Now explaining the importance of the Gettysburg Address are Emma North Hughes and Rohan Singhvi, followed by a recital of the Gettysburg Address by Victoria Morton.
The Battle of Gettysburg took place in July of 1863 for 3 days in Pennsylvania. While the battle was intended to be a victory for the Army of Northern Virginia to halt Yankee momentum, it soon proved to be the opposite. November 1863, on site of one of the bloodiest battles in the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln delivered remarks regarding the battle. We now know this as the Gettysburg Address. The Battle of Gettysburg served to be a turning point in the Civil War in favor of the Union. However, it did not stop President Lincoln from desiring unification. Within the address, he invoked the ideas of human equality established in the Declaration of Independence, while also justifying the loss of the Civil War as a means to the new birth of freedom. Most importantly, Lincoln reestablished the importance of Union preservation created in 1776. All of this was accomplished in Lincoln's brief 273-word speech that would be remembered as one of the most important speeches in American history.
On the morning of November 18, 1863, the keynote speaker at the dedication of the National Cemetery at Gettysburg was to be Edward Everett, a prominent orator at the time. Almost as an afterthought, President Abraham Lincoln was asked to speak a few words, as this dedication was to be done for the more than 7,000 dead on the battlefield that had become the town and surrounding areas of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. A local lawyer had urged government officials to allow for the dignity of interment with the fallen soldiers who now outnumbered the townspeople. Around 15,000 people attended the ceremony in Gettysburg, and after prayers and speeches were given, Lincoln began a speech that would redefine a nation. In his address at Gettysburg, Lincoln began by stating the simple truth that all men are created equal, a statement which had begun the Civil War and would remain relevant to this day. The speech was a pivotal moment in American history, also for Lincoln's assertion that this was a government for the people, by the people, and for the people. These declarations are celebrated to this day, and Lincoln's Gettysburg Address provides us with a foundation for these beliefs. In dedicating the battlefield of Gettysburg to those fallen soldiers, Lincoln was able to honor their memory, as those fallen had done so for a nation built upon liberty and justice, and without their sacrifice, such principles as those described by President Lincoln may have died alongside them.
Four and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this.
But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it for our power to act on the right. The world will no longer remember what we say, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us to live in rather, to be dedicated here, to not finish the work which they who fought here have thou so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here, dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from this honored day we take great devotion to that cause for which they give the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that this dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and the government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth.
Now I would like to introduce the chamber singers under the direction of Mrs. Morrow, who will be singing Of Thee I Sing by Dale. Summarizing America's wars will be Emily Soubet, John Hannigan, Ariana Keith, Brian Smith, Noah Macias, Chris Bowden, Ashley LeBlanc, Giovanna Merlardo, Caroline Abstrand, Yash Shah, and Sixto Mercer.
The American Revolution began on April 19, 1775, and ended September 3, 1783, claiming 10,623 American casualties in this war. It casualty is a person killed, injured, or missing in action. The War of 1812 was a conflict fought between the United States and the United Kingdom between the years 1812 and 1815. It claimed 6,765 American casualties. The Mexican-American War was a conflict between the United States and Mexico from 1846 to 1848, and it claimed 17,435 American casualties.
The American Civil War was fought between the years 1861 to 1865. There were 780,213 American casualties in America's most costly war.
The Spanish-American War was a conflict between the United States and Spain, fought between the years 1898 and 1902, and claimed 4,108 American casualties.
World War I was fought from 1914 to 1918, and in that time it caused 320,518 American casualties.
World War II lasted from 1941 to 1945, and over that period there were 1,077,245 American casualties. The Korean War was fought from June 25th, 1950 to July 27th, 1953, and there were 157,530 American casualties. The Vietnam War was fought between 1964 and 1975, and during that time it claimed 243,523 American casualties.
The First Gulf War took place between the years of 1990 to 1991, and there were 2,415 American casualties.
The global war on terror began on September 11, 2001, and the fight continues on today. So far, there have been over 10,000 American casualties in Iraq, Afghanistan, and throughout other parts of the world fighting to halt global terrorism.
Now I would like to introduce Lindsay Burkholz, Marco Stiolio Guerrero, Gabriela Penalvo, Gabriel Sanders, Derek Schiller, Vanessa Smith, and Catherine Sullivan to acknowledge the veterans who are here today.
Mr. Morris from Revere. He served in the U.S. Army from 1946 to 1948 in Germany. Mr. Charles McKinn from Revere. He served in the U.S. Navy from 1943 to 1950 in World War II and the Korean War.
Mr. Nick McCovey from Revere served in the U.S. Army from 1954 to 1955 in Korea. Mr. Paul Lozier from Revere served in the U.S. Army.
Mr. Butch McKenna from Wakefield served in the Air Force from 1965 to 1969 and the Air National Guard from 1977 to 2004. Mr. John Bowling from Wakefield served in the U.S. Army from 1961 to 1967. Mrs. Caroline Bowling served in Unit 63 in the American Legion Auxiliary.
Mr. Earl Richard from Linfield served in the U.S. Navy from 1940 to 1946.
Wickram Woomer, who served in the U.S. Army from 1972 to 1992.
Mr. Tony Rutigliano from Peabody served in the Air Force from 1965 to 1969. Mr. Don Hart from Wakefield served in the Navy from 1965 to 1969. Mr. Kevin Shaler served in the Army from 1989 to 1995.
Mr. Nunzio Salona from Wakefield served in the Army Reserve from 1968 to 1969 in Vietnam. Mr. Andrew Latini from Gloucester served in the Navy from 2007 to 2009.
Mr. Tom Lyons of Wakefield served in the Marine Corps from 1967 to 1970 in Vietnam. Mr. J. Panett of Wakefield served in the Marine Corps from 1973 to 1996. Mr. John Quint of Lexington served in the Navy from 1987 to 1990.
Playing Armed Forces Pride of America is the Wind Ensemble under the direction of Mr. Mick.
so much. The singing and the music, it just means everything. It's beautiful. Try not to move over there, right, Dr. Smith? Tap your feet, want to sing along. I also want to mention that two of our guests today are veterans of Wakefield High grads. 1938, Mr. Richards and Lentini, former student, sophomore. He suffered through 2 years, and he is also graduating from Wakefield High School. Anybody else? Traditionally, at a Memorial Day Assembly, WMHS invites a veteran to deliver what we call the Freedom Address. All our veterans remain humble, as does today's guest speaker. Very humble. This year, we are incredibly honored and proud to have one of our WMHS teachers, Mr. John Quint. You may know him, perhaps as you stroll down the math hall or sit in his classroom. John grew up in Plymouth, Massachusetts, not too far from here. After high school, he attended WPI on a NROTC scholarship, joining the Navy post-graduation. John was stationed in San Diego as well as in Norfolk. He also made one Mediterranean cruise during his service. Post-Navy, John worked in the private sector, earned his MA in American History at Brandeis, and his EDM, Education Masters, at Harvard. He has worked in publishing, making educational software, taught in Brockton, and now he's here at Wakefield High School. John's family has a history of service. His father served in the Navy, his brothers, one in the Marines and one is an Army doctor, and his grandfather, maternal side, volunteered to fight in World War I and thus granted his U.S. citizenship. Quite an honorable line of service to our country. We now welcome Mr. John Quint.
Hello, everybody. So, I did serve in the Navy for 3 years, from 1987 to 1990. And I just want to say a few words about why I went into the Navy and my thoughts on Memorial Day, and that'll be about it. I went in, I'd like to say they were for altruistic reasons, that I had some greater cause in mind, but the truth is I didn't. They paid for my school, so it was a bit selfish of me. And the second part of it was, I was young. I was a little older than you. I had my whole life ahead of me. And I knew I had my whole life to sit at a desk working some 9-to-5 job. And I was in no rush to start that. So the Navy was an adventure. It gave me a chance to do something most people don't get to do. And it was a lot of fun for me. I got to live in San Diego. I got to cross the Atlantic. I had some excitement, nothing compared to what most of these people did. And as somebody who eventually went into education, it made a lot of sense to make that move because, as my poor unfortunate students know, I harp on a couple of consistent themes. One of those is that you should experience life. You should get out and do things. And the Navy let me do that. I got to see places I wouldn't normally get to see. I got to do things. My office was a ship that was 600 feet long, filled with Marines and sailors. And I got to drop Marines off at a beach. I got to carry special forces. And in some ways, it was a lot of fun. So those are the reasons I went in, most of them. Once I got in, I realized there were other reasons to serve as well. And you feel like you're part of something bigger. And I caught on to that eventually, and it really felt good. This idea that service to your country can be a good thing. So I feel like I learned a lot while I was in there. I had a lot of fun, but I also grew. Basically, that was why I did it. My thoughts on Memorial Day? I have to admit, the first thing I think of when I think of Memorial Day is, I'm lucky. The country will always need people to serve. It has in the past, it does now, and it will in the future. When it was my turn to go, we were at relative peace. I was never in any real danger. And I think of all the others, the ones we're here to remember today, who were not so lucky. The ones who voluntarily went in during times of war. And I wonder whether I would have had the courage to have done what they've done. I'll never know. But my first thought for Memorial Day is, I feel lucky. I also feel grateful. Grateful to those who, unlike me, went in when they knew it was dangerous. And while I realize this is Memorial Day, not Veterans Day, I still like to say to our honored guests, thank you for your service. Yours was much more difficult and dangerous than mine. I'm sure of that, and I appreciate everything you've done. To those who made the ultimate sacrifice and those that gave their lives, the ones who weren't so lucky, the ones we're here to remember today, I hope they rest in peace knowing that the country they died for is doing well. And on Memorial Day, it's not a bad day to stop and think about them. Think about their sacrifice and what they've done for all of us. If you watch the news, you might feel that this world is a dangerous place, that things are getting out of hand. But truth be told, if you look a little deeper and you look beyond the headlines, the world is in an actually pretty good state. The United States is one of the safest and healthiest places to live of all time. Homicides are down, poverty is down, pollution is down, peace, prosperity, and yes, happiness are up. It's easy to lose sight of those facts when you're living your life day to day and you're worrying about small matters. But the truth is, our country is on the right path, going in the right direction. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed. It's not perfect, which is why we look to you students for the future. But overall, we're in a pretty good place. And it's thanks to those who made that ultimate sacrifice on Memorial Day that that's the case. So I'd like to thank them. Looking towards the future, the country will always need great leaders. A lot of those leaders come out of the military. In a few years, not too far from now, you will be those leaders. And as you're looking forward to your future, you should look out for your own interests, the way I did when I was your age. But you should also start asking yourself, are the two mutually exclusive? Can I live my life? Can I do what I want to do? And at the same time, maybe serve the greater good? I found out in the service that I could. And I suspect some of you can too. So, in closing, I'd just like to say, every now and then it's nice to stop, think about where we are, how we got here, and who we should be thankful for. And today, it's those that gave their lives to allow us the opportunities to do what we're doing. So, sometime today, take a moment, think about that. Have a good day.
Mr. Quinn, would you come up for 1 second? On behalf of Wakefield Memorial High School, I'd like to award you this Memorial Day Assembly plaque in honor of your service and your presence here today. Thanks very much, Mr. Quinn.
Again, as John said, thank all of you. And don't forget to see a veteran in your service. At this moment, I'd like to invite Mr. McKenna to come up. Each year, we have members of the senior class who are already signed to go into the military services, others who are in the future taking a test in September, or in the future contemplating what you're going to do within the next year. Today, Mr. McKenna will introduce you to two of our seniors who are currently here, who are currently here and entering the military. We are very honored.
Thank you, and good morning.
welcome to our honored guests. It's a privilege and an honor to make the next presentation. Today we have a totally volunteer Army, so it's vitally important for our country's safety that we have men and women that volunteer to continue the service to our nation. Today we'd like to recognize 3 seniors who are following in the footsteps of our distinguished guests. They have enlisted in the U.S. Marines and will be enrolled at the United States Air Force Academy and then serving in the Air Force upon graduation. We'd like to thank them for volunteering to serve, and if these seniors could come forward and be recognized as I call their names, I would appreciate that. I'm not sure if all 3 are here, but Matthew Boyce will be attending the United States Air Force Academy. Jake Denon has enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. And Sumir Ratan has enlisted in the United States Marine Corps as well. Thank you very much.
Now I'd like to invite Nina DiCarlo up to recite You Are Not Forgotten.
May 28th, day 148 of our year, is often celebrated with a silent cheer. We get this day off, but never ask ourselves why, while others sit at home as they remember and cry. For those who have served their time, for everything you have done, you own a special place in our hearts, and you are not forgotten. We remember the loved ones, the ones we once lost, the ones who stood in the front line and evidently paid the ultimate cost. We often forget who our veterans are, but across the United States, I guarantee one is not too far. We owe you our everything. You are the reason we are here. You are the reason we are the United States, and we are truly thankful for everything you have done. You are not forgotten. Though we only first celebrated Memorial Day in 1868, there are approximately 21 million veterans in the United States. But with too many soldiers who died in just 1 year, they died for you so you don't live in fear. Using their body as our shield, it is time to let all the hard work they have done be revealed. These brave men and women once raised a hand. They chose to fight for freedom because they love our land. They swear their life to protect you, never neglect you, to risk their life so that you can live. They are willing to give anything that they have to give. And for this, you are not forgotten. As they step onto the battlefield and we step through our front door, let's all sit back and think about the war. Think about the families who pray at night that their son, daughter, sister, or brother will come home safely and have won that fight. And for those whose doorstep has not more than a welcome mat, this is the reason you salute and remove your hat. These are the reasons you cherish your country, because these lives lost are the reasons you stand free. And for every life that was lost, you are not forgotten. They are the wall that stands before us while we stand bloodless. They risk their life to protect us while their fellow graduates walk to class on campus. They want to come home to us, just as bad as we sit and wait for them, anxious. Although we will never understand the work you've done, although we will never understand how deep your scars, although we may never understand how you got them, and although the pain you went through may never fade, and the images of what you've seen may have been burned into your memory, and just like you may never forget what you have gone through, we will never forget what you have done. You are not forgotten. As they are ready to face whatever battles may come about, they are scared but not worried. They are depressed but not struggling. They have guns in hand but will still take a bullet for you. They stand before us, but they stand with an army. They love our country and we love them. They are our veterans and they are not forgotten.
Now I would like to introduce Ali Carr, Nora Coyne, Nick Major, and Jack Bentuo to explain the meanings of TAPS and the national anthem, followed by the playing of TAPS by Michelle Mapay and Noah Bright, and the national anthem sung by the chamber singers under the direction of Ms. Morrow.
The 24-note bugle call known as TAPS was thought to be a revision of a French bugle signal called tattoo. The revision that gave us present-day TAPS was made during America's Civil War by Union General Daniel Adams Warren.
This music was made the official Army bugle call after the war, but not given the name TAPS until 1874. By 1891, Army infantry regulations required TAPS to be played at military funeral ceremonies. TAPS is now played by the military at burial and memorial services and is still used to signal lights out at day's end. Each day, TAPS can be heard in the morning and evening, echoing through the air at Arlington National Cemetery.
The Star-Spangled Banner is the national anthem of the United States of America. Its writer, Francis Scott Key, who had been detained by the British and watched the bombardment of Fort McHenry during the Battle of Baltimore in the War of 1812, inspired to write this song, despite the fact that he was unsure of the outcome of the battle. So he looked to Fort Henry and saw the American flag, the Star-Spangled Banner, flying triumphantly. It was then that he realized that the Americans had been victorious. The lyrics were set to the tune of a popular British song, To an Anacreon in Heaven, which was already a popular song in the United States. Renamed the Star-Spangled Banner, the song soon became a well-known American, patriotic song.
The song gained popularity throughout the 19th century, and bands played it during public events such as July 4th celebrations. The Star-Spangled Banner was recognized for official use by the United States Navy in 1889 and by U.S. President Woodrow Wilson in 1960. And was made the national anthem by a congressional resolution on March 3, 1931, which was signed by President Herbert Hoover. During the national anthem, all civilians should stand at attention, facing the flag with the right hand over the heart. Men should remove their hats. Persons in uniform should render in the military salute at the first note of the anthem and retain this position until the last one. Veterans and active duty military, non-uniform, are also invited to participate in the military style hand salute. Please stand for the playing of taps and the singing of the national anthem.
Kathy, nice to be back. It appears I'm usually the last act. And traditionally in vaudeville, the last act is kind of the wipe-up, while everybody put their coats and hats on and laid the popcorn on the floor. So I'm used to being the last act. But I'm here officially to bring the greetings of the Corporal Harry E. Nelson, post number 63, American Legion here at Wakefield. We'd like to invite each and every one of you kids, parents, to join us this afternoon at 4 o'clock at the Forest Glade Cemetery to help us place the flags on the veterans' graves. We've got quite a project here. There was time when 4 of us used to take from 4 p.m. until after sundown to do that job. Ever since we opened it up for volunteers to come, it takes us 20, 25 minutes to do that entire lot. We've got about 2,200 flags we have to put up. And we appreciate any and all assistance we can get. So if you're around at 4 o'clock this afternoon, by all means drop by. Bring a hammer, and the flags, of course, will be provided. So again, we'd love to see each and every one of you there. And a great job today by everybody, and thank you again, Kath, for bringing us up.
Thank you all so much for coming today. Now I think Scott Pat is going to come up front and dismiss you. Thank you again.